What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the awesome Chaves Redencion Street. This is the drop point variant. Now, it's important to know that these knives are actually made with a collaborative effort between Chaves or Ramon Chaves and Riot. And I think that's really cool, especially, here lately, I've had multiple opportunities to handle things that were made directly by Riot, and my mind has been expanded as far as what to expect on a fit and finish level from Riot. And I still love my American produced knives, but I've accepted that really awesome knives can be made by companies that are not necessarily in the United States. So we're going to look at that, keeping that in mind there. This is an awesome knife. Now, I have actually owned the old Mid-Tech, the Chaves 228 Mid-Tech, that was based on the original Redencion or Redencion Custom. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce that. But as soon as I saw it, this is it's straightforward, but it's also very aggressive. Let's get a look at that pocket clip. I know everybody wants to take a look at that. That pocket clip is awesome, and it's a polarizing clip. Some people are going to love it, and some people are going to hate it. I think it's really cool. Ramon has made it his thing, and I think that's neat. Now, on the 228 Mid-Tech, it did not have this slant. It was just it was 90 degrees. And he's altered a little bit, and I think it looks really great. I'll tell you what, let's do some quick specs here real quick. Keep saying quick. We'll find out how quick I'm going to be. This knife comes in at about 7.5 inches overall. The blade length looks to be, let's move her over here so everybody can see right in the middle of the camera and make sure she's focused. We've got about 3.25 inches on the cutting edge and just shy of 3.5 inches overall, something like that. This knife weighs 4.75 ounces and is the variant that is G10 on the front side and titanium on the lock side. So you can see there, equal thickness. It looks to be, I'm going to guess, 0.145, probably the same thickness in scales. We're talking about the scales here, yeah, as the Hinder XM18. So 0.145, and then the stock thickness of the blade, I believe, is 0.155, so just a little bit thinner than the XM18. Really great. The G10 scale, of course, serves as a means of reducing some of the weight. Now, this knife does come in a few variations. You've got the full titanium variation, which I want to say runs $300. Then you've got titanium with inlays. Those are really hard to find, I've noticed. Those run as high as $325. You can get it with carbon fiber on the front side as well. So here's what's cool is you're able to, when I got the Redencion 228 Mid-Tech, which was a little bit bigger, by the way, it was about 8 inches overall and much heavier. That was a tank. About the same dimension or same scale thickness and blade thickness as an XM24. So that was 0.187 stock thickness on the blade and 3/16 on the titanium scale. So that was a big knife. And that's based on a custom by Ramon Chaves, the original Redencion, which is like 9.25 and a 1/4 inch stock thick blade with 3/16. I mean, that thing is huge. That thing weighed, I want to say it weighed like 11 ounces. I don't know. But anyways, these are all based on that. And what's nice is he's found a way to take a knife and a design that a lot of people really like and get it at a price point that is more affordable. This is CPM S35 VN steel, so you are getting a nice blade steel for the money that you're paying for it, and I think that's great. I also think it's very appropriate. Can we focus? Can we focus today? Yes, we can. CPM S35 VN steel, which is great. So, this being $235, people are able to get into the Redencion now, which is a fantastic design at a much better price. I mean, this is literally less than half the cost of mine, and it's an inch shorter, and it's, you can get a version that this one's in G10, which is nice for people who don't want to carry around an insanely heavy knife. But even the titanium variants only run they're about 5.5 ounces, 5 3/4 ounces, something like that. So, but you can get into these at a little more, a little less than half the price of the mid-tech, which is awesome. And the mid-tech also used S35VN steel. And frankly, this knife is going to be a better cutter. I will get a piece of paper real quick and demonstrate. Okay, back with a piece of paper here. Let's give this a go through some paper. Fantastic. Feels great. No resistance. You would think, looking at that blade, that there might be some resistance. But this thing is just beautiful through paper. That is awesome. Really, really cool, considering this knife kind of has that chunky aesthetic that, that we were seeing in like 2013, 2014, 2015, which I think is around the time this knife started to take off. But really, really cool. This is awesome. You've got it's sort of a compound grind here. You've got that Spanto look, essentially, or what you see for Rick Hinder's custom Spantos. You've got this primary grind here, this slicing grind, and then you have this flat grind up here. This looks to be a hollow grind back here. And then you've got the flat grind up front, which is nice for tip strength and, essentially just adding strength to the blade while making it able to slice more efficiently, despite it being a fairly thick blade stock. There's a nice swedge up top. Everything is very, very nicely done. The grind lines on this are nice. You do have a satin finish instead of the stonewash that I saw on this one. I imagine there is a stonewash variant that you can get, but you have a nice satin finish. You can see the grind lines there. Really, really pretty. No flaws, no nicks or rolls in the edge. By the way, I haven't said this yet. This knife was actually sent to me by a very generous viewer who asked not to be named. But he said, yeah, go ahead and review it. He bought it. It was sent to him. He just handled it for one day and sent it immediately for me to review, which is awesome. Thank you so much. You know who you are. I really appreciate it. This is an awesome knife, and it's very nostalgic to me because I haven't handled, I actually traded my Chaves 228 Mid-Tech to Scott Whittington from USA Made Blade. I don't know, it's like 2 years ago, something like that. I don't know what he did with it, but he's the person I traded it to. Anyways, awesome knife. And you know what? I haven't done any size comparisons yet. You can tell I'm never scripted, guys. I just kind of start talking. Let's take a look at this knife next to the Ontario Rat Model 1. You can see there the Rat Model 1 coming in at about an inch longer. Actually, it's be 1 inch and 1.1 inches. Is my math correct there? I think so. I don't know. Let's do a couple of previews here. Let's do the Steel Will Resident. And going to say thank you to Mr. Slicey Dicey for sending that one over to me for review. Let's do the Steel Will Piercer. Also a loaner from Slicey Dicey, so thank you again there. You can expect to see those on the channel here soon. Let's do a size comparison with the XM18. Since we are looking at close to the same thickness, I just wanted to kind of throw that one in there. What we have here essentially is a tank of a knife that is shorter, and still, with it being shorter, this handle shape does allow you to, this is a 7.5 inch overall knife. You can get your hand all the way around that handle. So your blade to handle ratio on this is really good. By the way, speaking of really good, the action, let me get that focused. The action on this guy is amazing, and that's because it's running on bearings. You have a very, very nice fall shutty action on this and a very snappy deployment on this as well. I found that it's best. I had to adjust my hand to figure out exactly how I wanted to deploy this, but essentially I'm holding here. I'm kind of bracing back here on the pocket clip, getting my thumb underneath the thumb stud, and on this knife I'm almost having to push straight up. But man, does that knife rock it out. No blade play on this guy, up, down, left or right, nothing. We do have a nice steel lock bar insert, very early lockup, but it is very solid and very secure. That also doubles as the over travel stop, which is nice. And the stop pin on this guy is buried way deep in there. Let's see if we can see. Yeah, you can see the stop pin in there. It's really, really buried in there, which is interesting. This is the first time I've seen a stop pin buried so far back. Can we focus here? Come on, camera. There we go. So, but yeah, that stop pin is way back in there. You can see how the blade is reacting with that. But, you know, as far as where the lock bar insert or where the lock bar is connecting with the blade and where it's bracing on that stop pin, it is very solid. The thumb studs are a little bit different than what I was used to on the 228 Mid-Tech, but there is some texturing on there that allows for you to sort of get your thumb on there. They're also apparently removable with a Torx head. You also have a Torx head pivot, which is a nice... I love this polished flat style. I like that. I've always been drawn to that because you know, the XM18 has that style on the handle screws. I like this flat polished look. It just looks nice. The look of his handle screws is also nice. You can see there's little polished bevels there on the handle screws. There's a nice titanium backspacer here for a semi-open body construction, and then that milled pocket clip, of course. That thing it works really well. I mean, it connects to your pants. It does create some kind of crazy thickness on an already thick knife, so just be aware of that. You know, in your pocket, as far as like, you know, how much room it's going to take up this way and this way, it's fine. Absolutely fine. It's great that way. The pocket clip is really going to make or break some people's decision to carry this. For me, it wouldn't be a problem. I've carried bigger knives, and a lot of you have. For a lot of you, if you really like the aesthetic of this, you're going to carry it. You know, some people are going to carry it just because of the pocket clip, but that might be the deciding factor or the make it or break it factor for a lot of people. Not really any crazy hotspots. I will say, though, back here, these are a little bit pointy on both the G10 and titanium, and also a little bit up here. But really, that's pretty nitpicky. I mean, that's the only thing I can complain about is there's a little bit there's a couple of sharp corners, but up here, no, not too bad. You know, the jimping is aggressive. You know, it's going to catch your thumb. It's a little bit pointy, but you know, what do you want from jimping? You know, are we at the point where we have to complain about how sharp jimping is when it's supposed to be functioning in a way that it catching your finger? I don't know, maybe it's for some people, but for me, or if you're going to use this with gloves, you know, yeah, it's not going to be a problem. This is an exceptional knife. At $235, it is made unbelievably well. And let me say this. This variant has one solid piece of G10 on the front, no liner, and then it goes right into, I would imagine, I'm not going to take this apart because it's not mine, but your bearings and then your pivot, you know, kind of easy to assume. Now, I have never owned a Strider a mixed Strider, because I don't like the idea of one solid piece, or I didn't like the idea of one solid piece of G10 on one side and then titanium on the other. I like how Rick Hinder does it with the XM18, the standard version. It comes with a steel liner. Now, that's just me being sold on the ultra hard use factor that the knife is being sold under. And I have always, you know, my brain, my opinion has solidified around that idea that, you know, G10 plus a liner is stronger than G10. And while, yeah, that probably is true, my mind was changed when I swapped my G10 scales on my Paramilitary 2 S110V version out for titanium scales, and I pulled that G10 scale off, and for whatever reason, just that time, I tried to flex it, you know, because I thought, well, I'm not going to use these again. I tried to flex it, and I could feel how strong it was, and I was like, you know what, I wonder how much abuse this can actually take. So I started, and I didn't record, this was a long time ago, I didn't record this, but I did things like I held a lighter underneath it, or I put it on the corner of a desk and tried to flex it more. And that thing took some serious abuse before it finally started to sort of unweave. It didn't really break. It just sort of, you know, unwove itself, and the flames finally melted it enough to where it could actually break. And I gotta say, G10 is way stronger than I thought it was. So ultimately what I'm saying here is that for those of you who want the benefits of weight reduction in this knife or any knife that's using a G10 front, a solid G10 front instead of G10 aligner and a titanium frame, what it's going to come down to really is not so much, is G10 strong enough to be its own front without the support of a steel or titanium liner. It's more so how well is the knife made? How good are the tolerances on it? How are the pieces fitting into the slots on the G10? Is everything tight? Is everything in the right place? On a knife like this, you've got nothing to worry about. This thing is strong, and that G10 is thick. This is plenty good. If this were a much thinner knife with the same blade and you had two pieces of plain G10 that were half the thickness or FRN or something, then we'd have a different story there, but this isn't the case. Sorry about that, had to stop the video. You do not necessarily have to buy the full titanium version just to have that feeling of rigidity and solidity in the knife. You don't need to do that. This knife is made plenty well. It's plenty durable. So if you're like me and you were worried about something like that, I would say worry not because this thing feels plenty durable. It's also kind of, when I was talking about heft and expected heft and that feeling of quality that is inexplicably related to weight, I tend to prefer a little bit more heft, or at least the appropriate amount of heft in my mind before I pick up the knife. And at 4.75 ounces, I gotta say, this knife it just nails that sweet spot for me in terms of like what I thought it was gonna weigh. The titanium one obviously is gonna be a little bit heavier, but I like that. It makes me enjoy this knife more. And also, we're at an angle here, so let's see if we can get this to balance. Yeah, right here, the right on that primary choil, or maybe just a little bit back. Balance has a lot to do with that too. If the heft is, the weight is where you thought it would be and it's balanced correctly, that's kind of that, where it syncs up with your mind and with your mind's association with the extension of your hand thing. I don't know exactly how to describe that, but I think you guys know what I'm talking about here. It just kind of fits, and everybody's got a different version of that. Some people are going to gravitate more towards really, really light knives, and some people gravitate towards really, really heavy knives. But I really like this, and I think it would make an awesome EDC. And this is a production variant of it. So that's really nice. People can get their hands on this if they want to. And I think $235 to $325, depending on if you want the full tie version, you want the version with the inlays, which, by the way, the inlay version is awesome. That's what I would go for if it were me. You can get micarta, you can get carbon fiber, I saw. I don't know if they're going to keep making those, but that's really cool. At $325, yeah, absolutely. This knife comes in some really awesome packaging. What it comes with, let me put the sleeve back on here so you guys can see it. It comes with the Chaves key labeled box, or this is the Chaves' logo, the key here, which is awesome. I love that. Red and black, then this sort of cardboard sleeve comes off here. You've got this bright red box, and the knife fits snugly inside this little area right here. Really, really nice. That's awesome. I like seeing boxes like this. So that's really cool. Let me get that out of the way so we get the shadows out of there. The handle here, I want to say real quick, reminds me, and I don't have my brother's Griptilian anymore, but the AWT, or Applied Weapons Technology scales, the aftermarket scales you can get for a Benchmade Griptilian, we're looking at the same shape. A very straightforward, classic knife handle shape that just is appealing. It's going to be, some people aren't going to like it because they think it is boring, but I think this is going to be a universally appealing handle shape, and it works, Your hand naturally fits into this position, and you can bear down on this knife. You've got a nice place for your thumb. This is just a really well-made, simple design, and you have that nice bit of flair on an otherwise almost too simple design. Though the compound blade also kind of makes up for that too. That's just a nice blade. Like I said, multiple finishes. I've seen, the black DLC versions. I imagine there's a stonewash version, etc. A whole bunch of stuff. So this is an excellent knife. It was a joy to play with and handle, and I really, I don't know if we showed the centering. Let's show that. Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm only showing this just to kind of, bring it home here, but the centering's perfect. Everything, I mean, the fit and finish on this knife is perfect. Look how close we get here on these lines for the lock bar. I mean, look how, perfect those are. The same you know, the gap there for the lock bar to move, it's the same all the way around. That just looks nice, you know, where they've got to sort of cut it around the pivot and then come up here. That's, I don't know why I like that so much. That's just really nice. Everything is just nice and clean on this knife. It functions correctly. It feels good. There's a nice fidget factor with a thumb stud deployer, which is I think more rare nowadays. You know, oftentimes the fidget factor will come on Spyderco thumb hole openers or flippers, but we've got a thumb stud deployer here that has a nice fidget factor. So, you know, I know, believe me, I know, you know, you guys out there who are like, yeah, it's really cool, but again, it's made by Riot, so technically it's made in China. I don't know if I want that. Some people aren't going to have that problem, but I used to have that problem. And now, because of knives like this, and really Riot in general kind of turned me. But this is awesome, you know? And if it helps at all, this knife doesn't say made in China anywhere on it. This feels like an American-made, or what I would expect, an American-made production knife, a really nice one, to feel like. And that's excellent. This is an excellent knife all the way around, and in my opinion, well worth the money. So anyways, thank you again for allowing me to review this. Sir, you know who you are. This was really fun. I hope you guys all enjoyed this video today. If you did, please leave a like. And if you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like. So check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, then please subscribe to my channel because there is definitely more coming. Thanks for watching and have a great day.